Hey everyone, this is Heather and Jenny with Surviving Darkness, and we are on episode 14 today.
Today I figured what we could do is talk about choices and how choices not only affect the individual, but can affect everybody around them. And I was just thinking earlier about someone probably in our family many generations ago had made a choice to dabble in something, I don't know, witchcraft, Satanism, exactly what, that opened the door for a demonic presence. And it has every generation stayed in the family. So we don't really know how far back it even started, but it was just one person's choice to make a wrong decision that has affected so many generations.
I was just thinking too, like we had said before about how a lot of times it's just one side of the family or people, like a lot of ours was from our dad's side and down. But then, like we talked before, there are things in our dad's mom's side also. And so it's just, I guess it just kind of, it's strange to me that you have both sides and it's kind of the same feeling, the same weirdness, the same kind of attachment, I guess you could say, that comes with like the talking to people sexually that is not appropriate at all, because we've had that before from someone that in the family that made us feel uncomfortable that wasn't our dad's side, And so it's weird for it to be kind of all around and everywhere.
Well, like we've talked about before, it's almost like an attraction though. Mm-hmm. You got there, it's like they say, and it's true, that with Christians, we fight each other more than what a demonic force does. They work together to get the job done. And as Christians, we fight each other.
Yeah.
So if we band together the way the demonic realm does, we can actually get stuff done. We could move forward. And I feel like that's sort of what with our families and stuff is this demonic presence met with this demonic presence in two different families. And, they've just
merged together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's just band together and destroy this family.
Mm-hmm. Because that side of the family also has addictions to alcohol and things like that too.
Right.
That runs through different generations there also.
Right. Lots of years of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hadn't talked about that before. It was just something when you said.
Right. And I think even some of them on that side had like bootlegged and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, and then we had the one in another area in this state. Was he on which side? Was he on Dad's mom's or Dad's side that used to make moonshine? I don't remember where he ties in, but he had his own like thing to make it back in the woods, back in the country.
Yeah.
So yeah, it may have been. I think that was Dad's side.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I knew about that.
Yeah, it's one of those things I just knew when I was a kid.
Yeah. That's what I'm
one of the things that they talked about. Yeah. But then, like, I almost feel like that is like the oppressive spiritual battles. But as far as like an entity or demonic entity, I believe it's on Dad's side.
Right, yeah.
Because he's had relatives that have talked about, like he's got one cousin that talked about being downstairs and saw a figure or something and then it slapped her across the face. Mm-hmm. And there was no one down there with her and she goes upstairs and she's got a big handprint on her face. So I think that it's the actual, I guess, manifesting demonic presence is on Dad's side of the family.
Mm-hmm. And that was more where a lot of the really crazy and like literally like mental illness, all that stuff too, ties in more.
Right.
So it was on that side. Yes. Yeah.
And I honestly think that somewhere on down or on further back, a door was opened.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it just keeps going and going and going. And God has put it on us to put a stop to it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's choices.
It is.
Yet again, we have the choice as to whether we wanted to stand up and fight this, or if we wanted to just join in with everybody else and do what everybody else is doing and just go with the flow.
And we had somebody tell us, this week, I'm proud of you for doing this because, I didn't do that, or I wasn't able to do that. And, she just found out and was listening to everything. And she was like, I'm really proud of you all because there's things in the family that have happened. And she's been in the family for 20 some years and
right.
doesn't know everything that's going on, and was just surprised with when everything started coming out about all of this stuff. And then knowing that she went through that also, but she wasn't into our family. She was never in our family until she got married into our family.
Right.
And again, it's almost like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Like maybe she was supposed to be in our family at some point, like at this point.
Right.
Because God always has a reason for everything.
Right.
And it sounds to me like, I don't know, I haven't got to actually talk to her. We've just texted. But I kind of feel like it was like me, that I wasn't really going to talk to anybody about it much, And then things came out in her family too, and has made her realize things, and, and now she's kind of opened up a little bit with us and been like, yes, I went through the same thing. We battled with a demonic presence in our house, a dark presence in our house. And I saw an angel too, and it was almost like I could feel, I don't know if you could when you read it, but like relief to be able to actually say, oh my gosh, somebody understands. You know what I mean?
Well, like I was saying last week, it's almost like a sisterhood or something. Yeah. Somebody else has gone through it, and it's like, you got that connection.
Yes.
We've got like a spiritual connection because someone else understands. And just by us talking, we have, like, I won't say, maybe uncovered. We have, things have come back to mind.
Yeah.
Of things that happened that we hadn't really thought about anymore. And it was just suppressed. Mm-hmm. It was just, maybe at that time it was too much to think about. And then we've had people that are like, I've had stuff happen and I really didn't remember until I heard you all talking about that.
Yeah.
Or I'm hoping that maybe by listening and stuff to what all you all have gone through, maybe it'll trigger something to where I can remember what happened. Mm-hmm. I know something happened, but I don't know what happened. And maybe something that you all say might trigger that. So we're going to keep listening, and y'all keep talking and stuff like that. So we've had encouraging stuff. Mm-hmm. But like our topic today, I mean, it's choices. Mm-hmm. We're choosing to share our story, hoping that it will help other people too.
And we've not ever, like, obviously we're not famous, and we're not doing this for, if this goes big, that's good. You know what I mean? Just because we want more people to know about it and to hear our story and everything. But it has nothing, we're not doing anything like this for monetary gain. We don't get anything. I mean, honestly, we don't get anything at all, I mean, and it's just to help us out, to talk about it. Me, I know it does help me, even though some days we talk about when we get done how drained we are, because it does take a mental toll on you.
It does.
When you're talking about everything. Even if it's not the darkest stuff, you're still thinking about the things that you've gone through.
And the enemy's still attacking you the whole time you're talking. He doesn't want us talking. He doesn't want us sharing. He doesn't want us helping anybody. Mm-mm. And another thing, like talking about choices, and with the things that we went through, we chose to lean on God to get through it and to guide us on the right path
Yeah.
so that it didn't continue with our children.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I know years ago, I probably scarred my kids, and it wasn't intentional. It was out of fear. But I felt that I had to live right there at the cross. And if I made any mistakes, it was like it was going to totally destroy my family, because it would open the door for that demonic thing to come in and cause more havoc.
Mm-hmm.
But by being like so stressed and stuff, I wasn't able to really enjoy my kids growing up. It's like I felt like I had to analyze everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with like trying to live as close to God as you possibly can. But there comes a time when it's a little bit fanatical.
And God wants you to feel joy.
Right. And I had none.
Him, you know,
I had
that's
none.
what he's like. Your salvation is supposed to bring you joy. It's not supposed to bring you stress. But at the same time, I get what you're saying, because we'd had so much trauma that it's like, well, if I don't have them in church every time that everything's open, or if there's an opportunity for us to be there and be prayed over or get an anointing at some service or whatever, we should be there. And I can see that, definitely.
And I was afraid that, if I let up the least little bit, it was going to come in and it was going to keep me from being able to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was younger and I would go outside to read the Bible because I was so scared to read it in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid that I was going to let it come in somehow and it was going to take control again.
Right. When we know now, like you said, how to stop it. Like you guys fight with it more so. I deal with like more mental stuff, but you guys have, we've talked about before, y'all see things, feel things, everything's kind of followed you. But we still know to be like, okay, that's enough. I'm done. You know what I mean? Like,
and I felt like I had to control everything
mm-hmm.
and everyone. Don't say that, because if you say that, you're going to let something in.
Right.
Don't do that. You're going to let something in.
Don't listen to that song. You know what I mean?
Don't turn the channel.
Yeah.
There was one bad word,
Yes.
turn the channel, which I mean, there are ways. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong, because what goes in comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really want to listen to that stuff. But at the same time, it was like something's going to come in because they said one cuss word that had nothing to do with a demonic thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But automatically, oh no, we've just opened the door.
Yes.
So I always lived on that fear. And I think that I sort of pushed that over with the boys. And the fact that I wanted them so bad to know how to fight, because
mm-hmm.
we didn't. It was like any little thing that they told me that was going on, it was like, oh no, we're not going to do this. We're going here, and we'll over and over and over and over that verse. You're going to learn this verse. You're going to know how to fight. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes I overdid it.
Right.
Because of my state of fear.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It was that fight and flight, and it was like, oh no, we've got to do this.
Yeah.
It was like an exaggerated fear.
But you do have fear. You don't want to have to go through anything like that again, and nor do you ever want your kids to have to go through absolutely anything like we went through. What your youngest sees and goes through is enough, and he is doing better with figuring out how to keep it at bay, I guess, if you will, and it's like you said, there's sometimes that one or two will come through that are a little more difficult for him to deal with, but for the most part, he's good,
He's had to learn.
Yes.
And that is hard too as a parent, when you've tried to teach and you've tried to protect and stuff, but he's sort of had to learn his own way mm-hmm. of fighting too, because he is overcome with anxiety a lot of times. And it was like trying to keep him in the house, period. If he tried to leave the house, he would have like an excruciating headache. Yeah. And the further he got from the house, when I would try to get him to the school bus or whatever, it was like severe pain.
Yeah.
It did not want him out of the house. It
And
wanted
even-
total control.
Even as he got older, like in high school, and was walking to the school bus and everything, it would still, he would still see things or be shown things that would scare him.
Right.
Until he got to the point where he was like, okay, I'm kind of understanding a little bit more about all of this.
And how I can say, leave me alone.
Yes.
And it has to listen.
Yes.
And stuff like that. But, I mean, it was like he would become physically ill
Mm-hmm.
when he would leave the house. So I could understand him having that fear of leaving the house.
Right.
Because it put so much anxiety on him. And the physical part, too, of the headaches and stuff like that. And it was like as soon as we got back in the house, the headaches were gone.
It was almost like it's not worth the fight.
And then
you know?
then it was like we had the truancy issues because he didn't want to go to school. But I don't know that I would want to go to school if I knew that as soon as I left my house, I was going to be in excruciating pain.
Right.
And
it
he
was
was young.
With us, are you really going to go and tell somebody there's a demon in our house that causes things to happen? You know what I mean? Like, is somebody at school going to believe you when you say, listen, my kid sees things and it causes him to be sick, or the doctor, No, they had no real physical explanation for what was going on with him other than he's just lazy and doesn't want to go to school.
Right.
But you couldn't really tell them everything else that was going on.
No, we couldn't. And I'm sure that things will eventually change. But when it's a psychological or a mental issue, it is blown off.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
And it's just as bad as a physical
Yes,
issue.
it is.
But it's like,
Absolutely.
they should be able to control that.
Mhm. Because we were made to,
Right.
which is not always a bad thing, to learn how to deal with things that are wrong. But at the same time, you don't really look at somebody who is seriously looking at you and saying, I am suicidal. If I leave this room right now, I'm going to kill myself. You try to get them help,
Right.
even if that was in school.
Right.
But if it's something different than that,
Right.
like you said, oh, well, you're going to have to learn to deal with that. Well, sometimes you can't.
Right. And then you have the added anxiety. So I'm
Yes.
looking at going to jail because he's not going to school. So I'm taking that anxiety out on him because he's the reason I'm going to go to jail because he won't go to school. But he can't go to school because he's being attacked every time he tries to leave the house.
And I remember the one time that I stayed there and I was going to take him to school and he didn't go. He wouldn't go. And I was really, really, really mad because I got to work late and everything. But at that time, I didn't know he was dealing with any of, I knew that there was something there still with you guys, but I didn't know at that time he was seeing things in the full extent of all of that.
I don't know that I knew the full extent at that point either.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was sort of keeping that to himself. But I knew that it was some kind of attack with the symptoms that he was
Right.
having the further away from the house we got. And the fact that once we got back to the house, he was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a put on. You could see the color in his face
Right.
and everything changed. It was like all the color drained. And he couldn't even look at me because his head hurt so bad he had to keep his eyes closed.
Right.
So I knew what was going on. But you can't really tell someone, oh, he can't come to school because he's under demonic attack every time he leaves the house.
Because they're going to be like, yeah, you're crazy. And
Right.
he's crazy.
Right.
So,
So I made the choice to go to church,
mm-hmm.
try to learn, try to teach them how to fight because I didn't want them to go through all that we went through.
And I just thought about this too. We were raised up by a different mother than our brother. And I'm not saying this in any way bad. I'm just saying, we've talked about our mom always had us at church on Sundays, and we feel like from a very young age that No, we weren't in church every time the doors open, but a lot of times we went with our neighbor too.
Right.
And so we were there quite often, you
Right.
know. And our brother and our other sister weren't raised in that then. And so they both have, you know, had mental issues, or however you want to say it, bipolar, and didn't have that background in having that relationship with God, and no one also to lean on him to help too. Yeah, there definitely need medications and things like that. I'm not saying that by any means at all, because, you know, some churches think that you should not be on any type of antidepressants, anything like that. And I'm not here to down any church, whatever, you know what I mean? It's just that sometimes that physically does not work. You know, there's a chemical imbalance, or there's something going on. And yes, God can absolutely take things away. Mm-hmm. But God also gave, you know, scientists or whoever the knowledge to notice those things. Yes.
That it is a chemical.
Yes. And so sometimes I feel like, and I guess I just thought about that too, that they fought, you know, he fought, and then our half-sister is too, because they didn't have that background. You know, they have the choice now, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, because our half-sister was in church as a kid quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know if maybe because on Dad's side of the family that is like a big diagnosis for a lot of people is the bipolar. If maybe we got lucky on that part and got mom's genes instead of the genetic disposition that is on Dad's side of the family.
Maybe we've just not been diagnosed.
Maybe we might be bipolar and don't know.
I mean, like, you know, so
we might be
not laughing about the bipolar, but, you know, there's
the possibility.
Yeah, exactly. You
because, I mean, we all deal with anxiety, depression.
Yes.
And there are times that I don't want to do anything. I don't want to get out of bed, but I make myself. And I pray. Yeah. I'm like, God, give me the strength to get through today.
And there are, I think I said this a couple weeks ago, I don't do well in the wintertime. I don't do well at all with it because
me neither.
I get the winter blues bad. Some people deal with it okay. I do not. Like, I just don't. I get to that point where I don't want to do anything. I don't want to leave my house, you know. But you give me even like 2 sunny days in the wintertime and I'm already starting to feel better, you know. Right. And I know that that's a real thing. It took me a long time, up until probably about 4 years ago, to realize that that really was
a seasonal depression.
Yeah, and I was experiencing it, you know. So I don't try to make that as an excuse to not do things, because like you said, it's a choice to get out of bed, you know. And I know that some people deal with severe depression and, you know, and they can't, you know, but for me, you know, I have to make that choice sometimes to just make myself get up and move or do something.
Yeah.
And leave my house, you know, because
I can choose to wallow in the bed all day and be like, I'm so depressed, I don't want to do nothing. Or I can choose to get up and try to function.
Yes. Just like we could choose to stay silent about what's happened to us, you know, and to really not open up about things, and then also to just stay mentally oppressed about everything that's going on with us, you know.
And to be honest, our choice to share with people hasn't been easy for us.
No
at all. I'm telling you, every little thing that can happen has happened.
I think that someone that we're around a lot has listened to a couple of the episodes and has never dealt with anything that we've dealt with. And I feel like her attitude has been different towards me some since then. And it just dawned on me the other day, and I told my husband that. And I said, it just dawned on me that things changed after she listened to a couple episodes. And he was like, she may not know anything about that stuff and may not know what to ask you or say to you. That could be why she's been a little different, you know?
Right.
And I was kind of like, what did I do? You know what I mean? Like, what's trying to think of everything that I had done or said or whatever. And I was like, what? I don't know what I've done, you know? And then it kind of dawned on me and I was like, that could be. I mean, I don't know for sure. I didn't ask her, but it just kind of makes sense because not everybody believes
in that stuff.
Yeah. And what we went through. And that's okay. That's their choice. You know what I mean? And if we wouldn't have gone through it, I can't say that I would absolutely believe it, you know? I mean, yes, I would definitely believe in ghosts and everything like that because we had that.
We had a presence. I don't believe in ghosts.
But, you know, I mean, like something. Yeah. But, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't know. But what we went through was real. You know, the biggest part of me wishes that it wasn't.
Right.
That we would have had a normal childhood, teenage years and everything like that.
Right.
Not have to feel today like, do I love my dad today? You know what I mean? Like, I would rather be, I know, never have to make those decisions or in my mind, you know, just I wish we had the perfect family is what I'm saying. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just growing up. But that's not how the world is. And that's not what battle God gave us.
Right.
You know? So it is what it is.
Right.
You know, I mean, like, I do understand if that's how that person feels. That's fine. You know? If you don't believe it and you don't think that we should be talking about it, that's perfectly fine. You're entitled to that opinion.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to be mad at you if that's how you feel because that's fine.
Right. That's your choice.
Yes. Yeah. You know,
you choose to feel that way.
But at this point, our family, for numerous generations, has gone through so much that it's just enough. You know?
It is.
So, and I don't think that other people realize either that alcoholism, you know, going to the bars all the time, staying drunk all the time, leaving your wife, you know, all the time and coming back numerous times, that is an attachment and a spirit too. I don't think they realize that.
Right.
And, you know, and so there's, you know, like even our dads or generations past that was just normal, or so they said, you know what I mean? But no, that's not normal. That's not what every marriage is about, is, you know, numerous affairs and things like that. No, you know, yes, it has happened from the beginning of time. In the Bible, things like that happen and everything too. But that doesn't have to be normal.
Right. And we saw that side. Mm-hmm. We saw every time there was the least little bit of money, even if it wasn't there to blow.
Yeah.
If it was needed for bills, it didn't matter. It was going out to drink. I'm going to go shoot pool. Mm-hmm. All this. We saw that all the time. Mm-hmm. But we chose not to live that lifestyle. I don't know what it's like to party. I've never been to a party per se.
That's what I said. I've never gone to a bar to get drunk.
No.
I haven't. Like, I've probably only been in 3 bars in my whole life anyway, you know, and 2 of them were because I was married before and he played in a band and that's why I was there, you know.
Right.
And so I had 2 drinks one night in that bar, in one of the bars, but I've never been to a bar to drink. Now, I've been drunk. I'm not saying I've never been drunk. You know, that's a lie.
Right.
You know, I just have never gone out, like you say, to party.
I don't know what...
like a girls' night out at a bar or you know,
whatever. No, I don't know what that's like either. And I don't feel that I'm missing out on anything.
Right.
Because like I've said before, I'm a control person. And to be drunk like that, I don't care if I'm with a bunch of girls, it still wouldn't be comfortable for me.
And like in high school when people were partying, I was the one that I was like, listen, they're all going to a party tonight. I was like the tattletale because I was like, you don't ever know what's going to happen there. There can be, girls can get raped at these parties and things like that, you know? So I was like, for one, I would have gotten in major trouble if I would have gone to something like that and gotten caught. But I didn't want to be in that situation. No. We were going through enough.
Right.
You know, this is so hard, like, to say. This was just something that came up this week. I was talking to a friend, and we were talking about, just choices that we made when we were younger. And I said that, like, probably shouldn't even be talking about this. And this is how I put it, my first willing sexual encounter was at a young age. And I never did that again. It was one time, only happened one time, never did it again at all until after I graduated high school and was with the person that I married, And they said, what do you mean willingly? And they know, like.
Right.
And I said, I'm just saying willingly. And they said, don't tell me that means what I think. And I said, I'm not going to say anything to you and say yes or no. I'm just going to tell you that probably what you're thinking is the truth.
Right.
And they were just like, I just can't believe this. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't. And so I guess to me, I don't know how to put it. Going to a party and putting myself into a more dangerous situation where anything could have happened that I was not in control of.
Right.
When we were not in control of so much in our lives that was nothing but pure torture all the time.
Right.
I mentally could not put myself in that situation purposely.
Right. You couldn't choose to put yourself there.
Yes. And I guess that's where I was going with that, was even though, like, I made a mistake with the one time. That was one time. And it was like, okay, that's it. I just can't, I can't continue to do that over and over. Like, I just can't, you know? And that was still something that, I don't know how to explain. I guess the best way for me to say is, I didn't feel like it was fully my choice, but at the same time, it was just pressure. But I couldn't allow that to happen again in my mind.
Right.
With everything else that was going on, that was not an added pressure or an added worry that I needed.
Right.
For all of those, those 5 years or whatever it was, so 4 years or however long. From the time I made the first decision until later on,
Did you feel like, or do you still feel like you second guess yourself a lot with the choices when you're faced with a choice to make that may affect other people?
Yes.
Do you question yourself and feel like, did I do the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
And having kids, that definitely changes how you make your choices.
I'm having a hard time right now because my little guy knows that we do this podcast. And he wants to know what it's about. And he says, you don't let me come in there and you don't listen when I'm in here. Why can't you listen when I'm in here? And it's hard because we're really honest with him about everything. But I don't want to say I'm not ready yet. I mean, and there's things that he will definitely never know about never know about. But at the same time, I don't want to say something about or hear him hear something on here that would put anything in his head that could scare him, for one, or that he's not ready for yet.
Right.
And I also don't want to be bitter when I try to explain about the circumstances with Dad, to put him down with my little guy, because it's just hard, because we like for him to make decisions on his own about people, even other people in the family that don't come around and things like that, So it's just hard right now because I want to be honest with him and let him know what this is about. And I know that people will be like, oh, he's not at the age yet, and he's not, but I still want to tell him a little bit of things about this because I feel like I should. So he can know what to be ready for also.
Right. I didn't have much of a choice. The boys weren't that young.
Yeah.
But the boys were young whenever I had to tell them stuff, which they didn't know all the stuff.
Right. Yes.
They just knew that, I had to deal with an entity because it started with them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So they had to know.
That's kind of where I'm going because he's getting, like, he's scared right now he always has to have somebody with him at wherever he is. Whatever it is, even during the day, if he's going to the bathroom, somebody's got to be there with him. And I, as a mom, I want to be like, I need you to tell me what it is that you're scared of.
Right.
Like, if you're just scared to be by yourself, that's okay. I get that because sometimes it is, you're still little. But if there's something else that is there that you're not telling me about that is making you this scared,
right,
you need to tell me and we need to deal with this now.
Right.
But at the same time, I can't say that to him.
Right.
So that's what I mean. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to parent, but at the same time,
not put that fear on him.
Yes.
And not feed into that.
Yes, because we don't,
Right.
we just don't. And we've said, no, you don't have the spirit of fear. You just say, God is with me, and just get away from me, I said, and trying to put it in his words,
right.
know. And so, no, I don't want to say that to him and scar his mind,
right.
But at the same time, he is a very curious boy. And if there is something else that he's scared of, we need to know.
Right.
So.
And that was the problem with my youngest. I mean, he slept with me till he was like 11, 12 years old because every time he would try to sleep on his own, things would bother him.
Yes.
So it's that protective nature, keep him close. And the fact that he was scared to death to not be in a room, or he was scared to death to be in a room by himself and not have that protection. I didn't have that protection. I was scared to even go knock on the door.
Yeah.
If something was going on, or if I was scared even before all of this happened.
Yes.
I knew better than to even knock on the door. I would just blink my eyes to try to change a channel like it was like my dreams were a television.
I remember being young and, you and I shared a room for a long time while our brother was still living there. And I remember my stomach hurting me really, really bad one night. And like I was almost in tears, and I remember you saying, just turn over onto your belly and push the little pillow into it, and that'll help some. Because I said, I don't want to go downstairs, because for one, it was scary, but for two, we were going to get in trouble if we went down there,
Right.
I mean, so, and you'd been through it and you knew the fear that I had, but you'd also had stomach issues too,
Right.
and you were like, this helps, basically, like, just do this because I get it and this will help you, because you knew where I was coming from.
Right.
So, yeah.
I wanted my kids to always know that they had someone fighting for them and with them.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what it was, they had someone fighting for and with them.
And we don't want to be parents that are so, this is the way it's going to be, that if he's that scared, he can't talk to me and tell me. No, talk to me. Tell me what it is, I might tell you, well, that's kind of silly. You don't need to be scared of that. But at the same time, I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, you just need to quit, like it kind of was with us,
Right. Right.
And I don't want that to be the way that things are, because we did not feel like we could talk about things.
Right.
And we couldn't go to our mom because she was controlled too,
It's almost like we had to go through dad to get to mom.
Yes.
For everything.
Yes. So, we couldn't.
It was, what do you want with her?
And
What do
not
you
just
want?
about the things we went through. I'm not talking, we're not
Right.
talking about that.
Yeah, period. What do you want?
That's exactly right.
As soon as you walked in the room, what do you want?
You had to, or, I remember being little and pee into bed one night, and my clothes were downstairs in their bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's just how it was, I
Right.
mean, your stuff was upstairs in our room and mine was down there, and being terrified to go get another pair of underwear. And it was like, why? Things happen. Accidents happen, Like, I don't want mine to feel like that, you
Right.
know? And no, I'm not going to be his best friend, just the same as you weren't your boy's best friends,
No.
you know, because that's not our job as a parent. But at the same time, talk to me.
Right.
You know, tell me what's going on.
Right.
What's wrong, you know? And again, these are choices that we are making
Right.
by what we have gone through. And that's what we've said too. You can choose to live in the trauma that you've gone through and blame that on why you're an alcoholic, why you have this wrong and this wrong. Yes, there are, you know, it does cause a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that you have to stay in that.
Right.
So,
which is why we're pretty much doing this.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes.
We want to change the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be that change. And the only way we can do that is with God helping us.
Yes.
To be that change.
And I don't think that I realized either, I guess I'm kind of changing the subject, but how all the trauma that we've gone through, and with anybody, period, how much it affects the body physically.
Yes.
Too.
Yes.
Because, you know, we have a lot of health issues, you know, not like great, you know, I'm not saying that we're both completely unhealthy. I don't mean that, you know,
Right.
because thank God we're good, you know, but some of the issues that we have are caused from trauma.
Right.
And that's just a fact.
Right.
And until I guess I started even opening up to myself a little bit more about the things that had, you know, gone through, you know, just kind of over in my head. And then the one doctor saying, yeah, obviously you do have PTSD,
Right.
you know, and realizing, okay, I guess I do. And then studying more about that and everything and seeing that it does tie together physically also, you know. So I'm just saying, I never really put the two together because, and I'm medical, like I knew that caused that, but I didn't put the two together with me because in my mind that was separate from me, you know.
Right.
And this may not make sense at all, but what you went through at that point where I was not talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
what you went through was separate from mine.
Right.
We can talk about yours because
Right.
you want to talk about it. I don't talk about mine because we just can't. And it really wasn't any different. It was just,
Right.
that's how I had to mentally be able to talk to you about things,
Right.
you know, and that's kind of how I started opening up about things, was with talking to you about the stuff that we'd gone through,
Right.
and you telling me more of the stuff that you'd gone through. And then that helped me to be able to mention things to Mom.
Right.
And, you know, and so in a roundabout way, it's kind of helped all of us because I stay with her some. And so, you know, at night, that's what you do, is you just talk, you know.
Right.
And so that's what we've done, is just talked. And so you being able to talk about things helped me to be able to start realizing what was going on, and helped her by starting to talk to her about some of it too. And now she's opened up about some of the horrific things she went through
Right.
also, you know.
Yeah. So it's just trickled down.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes. And because of the problems that the things she went through, some of the physical issues she has are made a lot worse.
Right. Right.
And as she's getting older, they're progressing more too.
Right.
So, and it's times like that I get upset, you know, because it's like, well, how would life be different if we didn't go through that? You know what I mean? Like, would I feel normal? You know, like, would I not have these things wrong? You know, but then it's like, it is what it is again,
Right.
you know, and this
Right.
is the hand that we were dealt, so we can learn to deal with it.
Right.
Again, you know, we can't live in the fact that that's what we went through.
We're just living
wallow
off
in it.
We're living off other people's choices.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes. And we have chosen to not make those same choices.
Right.
And it won't carry on.
Right. So, I mean, if you think about it, somebody made a choice many, many years ago to open a door.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad made the choice to make a Ouija board. We made the choice, or I did, I don't remember if you messed with it or not,
Mm-hmm.
to play with the Ouija board.
I did on the dining room table.
It was, I mean, I made the choice.
Right.
But it wasn't, I would say, an informed choice.
Right, yes, exactly.
Because we did not know about the things that kind of stuff. It was a game.
Yeah,
we
it was.
thought.
Yeah. And there was something talking to you on the other side. It
Right.
was kind of cool, you know.
Right.
So you thought at the time,
Right.
you know.
Right.
No, and I was in the room too when the shot glass went up over the tracks of the window and
flew out.
Yeah, and landed on the concrete down on the bottom. Yeah.
Right.
So I was little, but I knew what was going on.
Right.
You know, and I mean, yeah, I did mess with it some too, but you
Right.
know, I was old enough to know what was going on and what was being said and all this stuff too. But, you know, like you say, not old enough to know anything about anything with it.
Not knowing that choice was going to cause that much chaos. I mean, it was a choice.
Yeah.
And like I said, not an informed choice, but it was a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And those things have affected a lot of people over the generations. The choices don't just affect us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes.
But we've decided that, I mean, we've made bad choices along the way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Then we've had to reap the consequences of those, still dealing with some consequences of bad choices.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's harder to forgive yourself for some of the choices that you made than what it is for other people to forgive you.
Yes.
And the enemy uses those things and comes at you. You remember when you were doing this and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then, so everything is about choices and how it affects everybody.
Not just you. Yeah.
Right.
Everybody. Yes.
Everybody, generations and generations are affected by choices, but we're choosing now to stop those things. And that is why I feel that God put us or let us go through what we went through. He didn't put us through it, but he let us go through what we went through so that we can help others. Mm-hmm. We can send them in the right direction, which is God. Mm-hmm. And we can stop the repercussions of the bad choices that were made in the past.
Right. Yes. And we've said, like, our cousins agree too, you know, but I guess there's just, anyway, even if there's not, even if they, you know, there are things that still continue to go on in other parts of the family, we will know that we have done our part.
Right. Right.
And this is our choice to share what we've gone through in hopes that to help somebody else, like you said, or to maybe prevent, you know, from years and years of further generations going.
Because and we choose each week to continue.
Yes.
No matter what the enemy's throwing at us, because it's not, he's mad. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's mad. I mean, it's plain and simple. He's mad and he comes at us with so much stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. So much negative stuff that we have to, I feel like I'm constantly dodging something to stop me or slow me down. But we're still making that choice every week to put the word out, to educate and to be open for people.
Yeah.
If they want to talk, need to talk, or just be able to deal themselves with what they've gone through.
And it's not just, you know, the sexual abuse and things. You know, people may have grown up with a very physically abusive parent, you know, and never have dealt with any type of sexual abuse or anything like that. That's still abuse. And that's still something, yes.
The domination.
Yes. And that's still something that a person can say, you know what, I didn't go through what you did. However, and I've had actually someone say that, was to listen. It makes me think about, like when we were talking about forgiveness or how do we feel, and we said it's on a daily basis, you know.
Right.
It's okay to feel that way.
Right.
You know? I mean, so it doesn't matter what you've gone through. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing that we did.
And don't minimize what you've gone through. Well, you know, mine wasn't really anything compared to what they're going through. Mm-hmm. We all have our own battles, and everybody is affected differently.
Yes. What
may affect us, like, greatly might not affect you so much, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So don't minimize what you feel. You're allowed to feel what you feel.
Yeah, that is exactly right. Yes. And don't let somebody else
minimize it for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Because we all face our own battles, like you said.
Right.
So, yes.
All right. Well, we'll just wrap this one up for this week and be back next week. Y'all have a great week. And, you know, you can always find us on our website. It's survivingdarknesspodcast.com. And that will send you to all of our social media platforms. And you can find our other podcasts and stuff on that site also. Have a great week.